incredible slate of games this weekend, and we need to pick them. We're going to start on Friday night. Louisville heads to Miami. Now, Miami had an interesting schedule, the way it broke down. So they beat Florida, they get a week off. They beat Florida State, they get another week off. Now, all of their games are in a row. They don't get a break between now and the end of the season. But the sprint starts with the toughest game remaining on their schedule. So the fact that Miami is a 13.5-point favorite against Louisville should tell you what it's going to look like the rest of the way for Miami. And Louisville, the last we saw them, they also had last week off. Last we saw them, they were losing to Virginia at home in overtime. So
this is first loss of the season.
Yeah.
But yes.
This is going to be an interesting game. It's Friday night. If this were at Louisville, I'd be doing the whole be wary of a road favorite on a Friday night. But this is not at Louisville. This is at Miami. And Miami's had an open date.
But how much does the Friday night aspect of it change your thought process?
It doesn't change it in this particular case because Miami's had a week off. They do understand, I think, that this is the toughest game remaining on the schedule. I don't think Miami's players are going to turn on Louisville film and be like, oh, we're going to crush these guys. They probably look at it and say, okay, this is a well-coached team. Jeff Brohm knows what he's doing. They've got good players. We are going to have to get up for this game. And if they do that, I think they're going to cover the almost 2-touchdown spread.
Yeah, Andy, I hate to be the person that brings us back to this, but share the records.
Yeah.
Even though I went 3-6 last week.
Yeah, so I went 5-4 last week.
Looks like you went 2-0 in the only two games you were on opposite ends of.
Well, we both got hooked in the Alabama Missouri game, which
back door was wide open.
The Alabama spreads have been dead nuts on the last few weeks, and we'll get to that when we get to Alabama, Tennessee. But the spreads have been very sharp the last few weeks for Alabama. 5-4 for me last week. I am 35-30-1 on the season. Your record on the season,
we don't need to talk about it.
Is
it's
below that.
It's below that.
It's below 500. So, but Ari swears he's getting back.
I had the best weekend of my actual of the year.
Well, why don't you start doing that?
Because I'm not playing these ones where we got to play more Northwestern games. We're not picking those.
I tell you what, no, because we do that when Tyler Shoemaker comes on. We give you some extra picks on Thursday. Ari's going to give you some extra picks throughout this week. We're going to add that.
I'm just going to steal his. He had his best weekend of the. He went 2-1, I believe, in the best ones that he gave us last week. But he's like betting overs of MAC games and stuff and hitting those. So
go to Gametime, download the app, use the code Staples to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. This is a pricey Vandy game. Like Vandy home games usually don't cost this much to get into, but if you want a good seat to this game, you're paying over $200. So people are excited about this, and obviously a lot of this is LSU fans wanting to go to Nashville and enjoy Nashville, but a lot of this is Vandy fans feeling like, hey, this is a chance for our team to be really good here. So hit that one on the Gametime app, or maybe you want to go to Tuscaloosa, watch Tennessee play Alabama, see if you can smell some cigar smoke on the third Saturday in October. That one's slightly more expensive. It's a tough ticket in Tuscaloosa, but Gametime, of course, has all the tickets, whether they're tough or not. They got all of them. The price you see is the price you'll pay. Use the code Staples, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Gametime, swipe, tap, ticket, go.
But yeah, that doesn't count. We need to focus on these big games here. Let's get right back into Louisville, Andy.
Yeah.
So in my estimation or my viewpoint, and obviously that's constantly in flux, but there are three teams in the sport right now that seem to be at least a half a step to a full step better than all the other really good teams.
Yep.
And those three teams are Ohio State, Miami, and Indiana. And you might, still have some weird, reflex when you hear Indiana come out of my mouth, but I think they've unequivocally proven through, what they did on Saturday. They deserve to be in that statement. Miami has looked really, really good. And I wonder if Miami is just built from an athletic standpoint a little bit deeper than anybody appreciated coming into the season. We don't need to go through how good Ruben Bain is and how Carson Beck is playing, but their lines of scrimmage, the homegrown talent, everything that Miami has done to build this roster seems to me to be really good in today's game. And I just want to know, from a personnel standpoint, Louisville's got some players. Like, let's not make any mistakes about that. But what does a team have to do to beat Miami? The thing that is so impressive to me about Miami is that I feel like they can exist in multiple types of games. They have the explosive playmakers to keep up in a shootout, and they have the offensive and defensive lines to exist in a low-scoring barn burner type game. And I just like don't even know like what a Louisville win or whatever would look like. And this is a big spread, so it doesn't have to be even close to a win for them to cover. But like I am really high on Miami. It took me a little bit longer than you to get there, but I'm there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They are built so much better on the line of scrimmage than almost every team in the country. I think Ohio State, Oregon. There's maybe a few teams that compare, but there just aren't many. And there definitely aren't any in the ACC. Like the closest one in the ACC is probably Georgia Tech, and they're probably going to see them in Charlotte.
Yeah, and the ACC standings are really interesting right now. Also, I don't think we're going to be picking any Georgia Tech games this week, but
we are picking Georgia Tech's game this week.
We are. Okay, but between Virginia, Louisville, Miami, and Georgia Tech, you have a pretty interesting race, and I think it might come down to who has the most advantageous pass, and of course the result of this one.
It's going to come down to the result of this one and the result of Georgia Tech Duke this week, which we are going to get to in a few minutes.
I forgot about that. That's a really big game.
Georgia Tech's an underdog
in that game
against Duke. So, and it's probably the last time Georgia Tech will be an underdog.
So basically, what you're saying is I need to pull my head out of my ass. Yeah,
but what this is probably saying with Miami favored by 13.5 in this game is probably this is the last time Miami is going to be favored by fewer than 2 touchdowns this season. So Miami is got to be on guard for letdowns, which we saw that last year with Miami, and it killed them. It got them knocked out of the playoff. I imagine a lot of these players who were on that team will be on guard against that. I don't think we want to feel that way again. Obviously, the coaching staff remembers that feeling. They don't want to feel that way again. So I like Miami here. I think Miami will cover. Ari, who are you taking?
I also like Miami here. I like the 2 touchdown situation, and I want to push back a little bit on like the notion of letdown, because when you go back and you look at their losses last season, I mean,
Georgia Tech and Syracuse were good.
Yeah, and Syracuse put
up
I consider points
like I think they had letdowns against Virginia Tech and Cal. They just happened to win those games.
Yeah.
You got very lucky to win those games.
But they also, the reason why I wanted to push back on it isn't because the teams they lost to I think are pretty good. It's that when you have a defense that can't stop anybody, every game you're susceptible to losing.
Right, and they're not that anymore.
That's the case this year. Yeah. So, of course, the importance of coming out fired up in a pivotal ACC game, standings-wise is, the importance of that goes without saying. But I think that the personnel and the way that they have fixed their defense, and that's the most impressive thing about this. There's a lot of things that you can say about Miami and how they've gotten back to this point. But the thing that is most impressive to me is how they were able to fix their defense or do it in a way that it went from completely awful to a strength in like one offseason.
It is amazing how they've done that. And, transfer portal is a miracle worker. It's just, you can do a lot of things if you use the transfer portal wisely, if you make good coaching hires, and that's what Miami has done. Okay,